How y'all doing today? It's so great to see such a great crowd here today. Thank you all for coming. Yeah, woo! Woo! It's my great honor to welcome you here to our annual celebration of Humanics. The Distinguished Professor of Humanics and the annual lecture are well-established traditions at Springfield College. In 1966, Dr. Seth Arsenian was named the first Distinguished Professor of Humanics. In that role, he was tasked with ensuring that Humanics was guiding and shaping the core values of Springfield College. And in the spring of '67, he presented the first Humanics lecture on the meaning of Humanics. I'm proud to say that since that first lecture, and even throughout the COVID pandemic, we've maintained the tradition of the Humanics lecture, of course with a few Zoom modifications. Today we are really glad and excited to be back here in person. Yeah. I'm also pleased to know that some of our former Distinguished Professors of Humanics are here. You will know them not only because of their well-known contributions to Springfield College, but the rose boutonnieres that they're wearing. And yes, I didn't steal one, I actually am one. What I'd like to do is I'd like to ask each of them to stand and remain standing while I point them out to you, and then we'll give them all a round of applause at the end. Herb Zettel. Elizabeth Evans. Dr. Evans. Joel Deering. Peter Polito. Delight Champagne. Dottie Zanotti. Mimi Murray. Bob Accorsi. Naomi Graves. Carol Mitchell. Marty Dobrow. Sue Geyer. And myself. Before, yeah. Well, you'll be up next year last. Before we bring Keith up to the stage, let me introduce Dr. Mary Beth Cooper, President of Springfield College. Dr. Cooper, would you give us a welcome?
Thank you, Grace. I would like to always to be introduced and then have the posse right there. So, okay, so let's try it again. Mary Beth Cooper. Glad we got that recorded. Okay, this is important stuff. 2 words. 2 words. Show up. Simple, yet so powerful. Simple, but powerful. 2 words. So as I thought about my remarks for this evening, and I wanted to be brief because 2 words, show up. That set the stage. It reminded me of other brief messages that we have used in our lifetime that have a powerful impact. All in. Our women's softball team. All in. That means don't leave anything out. Bring your whole self in. I'm sorry. A phrase that we could say more than we do. Sorry. Didn't mean that. I'm sorry. I didn't pick that up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Don't use that enough. Pride cares. Yesterday was a wonderful and powerful we celebrated a group of women, of students, that spent considerable hours in training to be there for other people. So Humanics. Pride cares, Bob Accorsi. Unbelievable. Pride cares. Love you. Last phrase I say whenever I finish a call with somebody that I love. Because if something happens between the next time we see each other or don't see each other, the last thing I said was love you. I do, and this may be lost on some of you. Another powerful phrase, 2 words, that says, I'm committed to you, and you're committed to me, for whatever that's about. I do. And finally, another 2 favorite powerful words. I give you Keith Bugby.
Wow, this is pretty crazy. Bear with me. I'll do my best to get through all this. If I trying to get some emotional a couple times, I'll try not to. But as with everything I do, I'll be speaking from my heart. It's the only way I know how to speak. So I will share with you some thoughts I have here. Kind of broke this down to a couple different points. I have some thank yous I want to start with, and then I want to move on to talk about who I'm really dedicating this to, where it's going from there. I want to tell you a little bit about why I chose this topic, a little bit of synopsis of the talks I gave when I went out, and Jimmy and I went out and spoke to some groups, and then give you a little idea of where I've been during the course of this year, and then some closing remarks, and hopefully my prayer every time I've spoken with a group is that if we touch one soul, one person, I'd be very happy with that. So we'll see where that goes. I just want to thank God for this opportunity. This is an amazing opportunity. I feel really privileged to be doing this. When I was informed that I got this position, one of the first things I did is I looked up all the previous humanities professors, looked up the list. And to be honest with you, it's incredibly humbling. A lot of them are very close friends of mine. And to be in that group was just, I didn't feel quite worthy. It's just an amazing group, I think. And to me, the people in that group, I look at as sort of the pillars of the college. People that really do represent to me what Springfield College is all about. And to be in that group with those folks, it was overwhelming. And I know as I spoke to a couple of my friends who were previous humanities professors, they said the exact same thing to me. When they were chosen, they looked at the list and said, wow, it's pretty crazy. So I humbly accepted it. I was trying to explain to my team the other day what the humanities position is all about and the whole thing. And I said, it's kind of hard to explain. It's almost like a secret society. You know, it's because it's so Springfield. All the people before me that have received this position are the most humble people I know. And they're not the kind of people that are going to put billboards up and say, I'm the humanities professor. It's all about me. You know, it's not the way they are at all. So it is really, I told Bob, we need to get a secret handshake or something because it's like the Masons or something. It's just really, but it so represents Springfield College. And one of the reasons I asked my team to come here is I wanted them to learn a little bit more about what this is all about, because it's really unique. It's really special. I don't think you'll see this at any other school. And I think it's really, 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 really cool. So I want to give some thank yous right now to some groups. First, I want to thank Cindy Hurley for all her efforts. For you a little bit older, if you watch the show MASH, she's like Radar O'Reilly. She really, literally runs everything, you know? And just, you know, anytime I had any dumb question, she answered for me right away and gave me all the time in the world. And you know, I probably thanked her like 100 times and hugged her 100 times because it's just, she makes it so much easier to, you always made me feel good about, like, yeah, this is really going great. It's going good. You're doing the right thing. It's awesome. Everything's on track. You know, she just made me feel really good about it because I can get a little out of the box sometimes, you know. So I appreciate that a lot. Really want to say thank you to all my colleagues and friends who are here today. I love you folks. Some dear, dear friends who are here supporting me, and I really, really appreciate that an awful lot. And thank you so much. I want to thank my team for coming. One of the reasons I told my team that I wanted them to come here today is I wanted to publicly thank them for showing up for me every day. You guys don't realize how much you do. every day. You know, the effort you give, the way you go about your business, for the last few years has been the salvation for me to have you guys. So I thank you, and I appreciate all you do. And you're just a great bunch of guys, coaches and players, all you guys. Thank you so much. Want to recognize some of my family members who are here today, which is great. I appreciate them being here. Some had to travel some pretty far distance to get here. My daughter Jenna is here with Kevin, her significant friend right now. Trying to find the most least awkward way to say that. How'd I do, all right? Or +1, I don't know. Glad to have you here. My son Dave and his wife Sarah would be here, but she's expecting, and she was supposed to be due the 13th, so she's beyond her due date. So I got my phone right here, and could be any day they'll be having a little baby. So but they would love to have been here, but they're coming out of the Boston area, and I think they're better off just staying home and waiting for that baby to come. My son-in-law Evan is here, and on the program, you know, I have obviously listed Evan's name with Finley, Sigrid, and Nolan, my 3 grandchildren, who are just an incredible blessing as Evan is, and really appreciate everything about you, and you know, just amazing guy. My wife Jane is here, who's been my best friend for 40 years, and we're in quite a journey together, Jane. And I'm glad I'm doing it with you. So I appreciate everything about it, you know. So to my family, I love you all. And thank you for showing up for me. And hopefully I show up for you as much as you show up for me. So thank you so much. Specifically, I'd like to recognize, as far as dedicating not just this lecture, but the whole Humanics series, to my lovely daughter, Lindsay. She's the driving force behind this. For this position, the lecture, everything. She's a Springfield grad who defines Humanics, those who know Lindsay very well. She's the picture of joy. She is mind, body, spirit in everything she does. She showed up for everything. As a daughter, as a wife, as a mother. Lindsay's a finer teacher, coach, and person than I ever will be. And I love her and miss her very much. But she will always be my motivation for everything. So why I chose the topic, show up. As a coach, all you athletes in this room, it's a topic you've heard all the time. Coaches use that all the time. That's a very common term. Coaches are always trying to get the kids to show up for games, practice, event, whatever. Just show up. Give your best effort. You've heard it a million times. And I've used it long, you know, in the 40 years I've been coaching, I've used it a million times. Because that's what you want. You want everyone to show up and give it your best all the time. But for me, this term is taking on a whole new meaning. And that's kind of where this is coming from. The show-up concept. I first used that term in the spring of 2019. We had an event on Stag Field where we retired Lindsay's soccer and lacrosse jerseys, and I got a chance to address both the women's soccer and the women's lacrosse team. And I remember that's the first time I used the word show up in talking to a team, and with that meaning. Like I said, I've used it many times, but in that meaning is the first time I really used it in that meaning, as I talked about Lindsay, the way she was about showing up for everything, and just tried to kind of have people emulate that a little bit. So that's the first time I used it, and then since then, it's taken on a brand new meaning for me. When I was informed that I received this position, it took me about 20 seconds to think that's what my topic's going to be. It wasn't even, maybe not even that. Almost instantaneously, I said, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to use this time for. And when I went to your lecture last year, before I even walked in the tent, Dr. Cooper pulled me aside and said, congratulations on being new Humanics professor. And you got a topic? I said, yeah. And she goes, show up, right? And I said, yep, you're right. It's exactly what it's going to be. So that wasn't hard. That wasn't hard at all. And then even when I thought more about it, I can't think of a better term to define humanics than showing up for others. It just, to me, is humanics. Bob Accorsi and I were talking. I asked him a little bit about his time as a professor and some of his thoughts on it. And when I told him the topic, he goes, that's, you can't define humanics any better. It's perfect. It's exactly right. It's exactly what humanics is. It's just showing up for others. So that was easy. That part was really easy. So I want to give a quick review of what I've done, what the talk went out. Jimmy Warnock and I, I'll get to talk about Jimmy in a little bit, but when Jimmy and I went out and spoke to groups, basically the talk stated, or the way it went was, I would talk to them about where show up came from, why show up, and why it took on new meaning for me. And I would always start out with explaining a little bit about Lindsay's situation. 2018, Lindsay passed away with some complications from childbirth, and it was obviously a life-changing event for myself and my entire family. And what it did was open up my eyes and my thoughts and my heart to about showing up. And what really happened was I started watching how people showed up for us and how much that meant to us, the way they would reach out to us and just show that care and thoughts and just showing up for us. And it just reminded me over and over again how important that is, that I would do that for others too. And that just a showing up thing is just something that's got to be part of your life, And I really just, after a lot of thought about it, I thought it's such an important topic for anyone to talk or listen to. So that's really where it drove me with that discussion of it. And all of our talks that Jimmy and I have been out to have been with athletic groups. This talk fits anybody. It could be for a business group. It could be any group, really. But obviously, I'm a lot more comfortable in a gym or a field or, and with that group, we're a lot more comfortable. And it just worked out great for us. So I ended up talking to groups in gyms and fields and hockey rinks and that sort of thing. And most of them all were either coaching groups or athletic teams. And it just seemed so perfect to work with those, to talk to those groups, because the thing about athletics is it's something, showing up is something you can practice every day. You have such a great opportunity to just work on it every single day, because you're always trying to show up for each other. You're always trying to have your best practice, have your best game, have your best everything off the field, on the field, take care of your academics, all that stuff. There's so much involved with being a teammate, and showing up is so much a huge part of it. But the biggest thing is, can you take that off the field too? Take it into your life, take it home, take it to your family, as you try to show up in those worlds. And as hopefully it's like a two-way street. As you're doing it, people showing back up for you. And the biggest thing is, which I unfortunately have learned, is life throws curveballs by you. Life is not easy sometimes. I was putting Sigrid, a 3-year-old granddaughter, to bed one night, and her little brother, Nolan, had a little fit, a little tantrum, and she's very sympathetic. She's very kind, and she felt really bad for Nolan that he was upset. He was just tired. He was just being Nolan, He's awesome. But I was putting Sigrid to bed, and I was reading her a book that night, and she was talking about how sad she was that Nolan was sad, And I said, I know, he'll be okay though, honey, he'll be all right. And she goes, Papa, life's not easy, is it? And I said, no, it's not, Sigrid. Life's challenging sometimes, It throws curveballs by you, And you got to be ready for them, And it's hard to be ready for them, because a lot of times you don't know about them. But with the show up, involving that with showing up for each other, hopefully, why I love talking to athletic teams is because what they're doing, and obviously beyond the athletic teams, is building up villages in their lives, building up communities in their lives that are there to help you when you hit those curveballs. And your teammates are the best, of course, but there's so much more than just teammates, your family, your other friends, your other worlds. And as you get better and better at building up those villages and those communities in your life, they come in, you'll need them. And you want to be part of theirs as things happen in their lives too. So that's really what we talk a lot about. But there's two really key terms I always talked about with all these groups that's really important when talked about showing up, is one, it has to be intentional. I think it just has to be intentional. You have to go out of your way sometimes. We all get in our worlds. We all have our stuff. I have mine, you have yours, everybody has their stuff. And can you intentionally sometimes put your stuff over here, look around your stuff, and help somebody where they're at, and try to see how they're doing, or put your arm around them, or just say, how you doing? How you feeling? talking to some good friends of ours recently about how important it is when people just say, I know this isn't easy. I know this is hard. Just for someone to say to you, I know this is tough for you right now. And sometimes you have to put your stuff over here and do that. And it's not easy, but if you intentionally do it, it goes so far. And the other thing, it has to be sustained. I think it's great to be caring and loving and helping and want to be there for people, but it's got to be sustained. And it doesn't have to be big ways, it can be little ways, a pat on the back, a text message, you know, how you doing? It doesn't take much. And just people know that you care and they want to help you where you're at is so huge. And you just hope what happens is you get good at that, and you do that a lot, and people want to do back to you. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. It's just this two-way, this give and take that hopefully works that way. And again, small ways and big ways. So Jimmy and I got an opportunity to get out to speak to some programs. And what's really cool about it is when I got given this position, or awarded this position, whatever you call it, or anointed this position, I didn't know where it was going to go exactly. I just knew we were going to have one opportunity to speak to the student body in the fall, and I wasn't really sure where it was going, but I kind of knew it was going to go somewhere, and you just don't know. And what's really happened is, and a lot of it's because of very alumni base, a lot of people on this list have some connection to college, but not all of them, but it just kind of went this way. So what happened was, myself with Jimmy started getting calls, and you know, we never said no, we never will, and we just started going out to speak to high schools and programs and teams and coaches. So we started in no particular order. On campus, I was able to meet with our women's lacrosse team, our women's soccer team, our men's soccer team, men's and women's basketball, men's volleyball, men's and women's tennis, the football team, and of course, lacrosse team every day. They're probably sick of me saying it, but every day. And then off campus, we got a chance to speak to Simsbury football, Wachusett football, Longmeadow football, Elms College, all the coaches, Elms College men's and women's basketball, Westminster, where Evan teaches and coaches, works in Connecticut. Westminster, I spoke to the coaches there. I spoke to the Westminster boys hockey team, Avon High School boys lacrosse, Suffield Academy boys lacrosse. The last two were really cool. If I can get a quick. So we got with an alum, Dan Citrone. Jimmy and I went down to New Jersey and spoke to it's called the Face-Off Academy. It's like 500 kids. It's like the best face-off kids in the country all come to this one event, and they compete to see who's the best face-off guys in the country. So about 500 athletes and all their parents. We kind of closed the day with Jimmy and I getting to speak to all these kids. And for lacrosse guys, no, there's no more special group than face-off kids. They're just a bunch of psycho kids that are really, really unique to talk to. So to get them it was really an interesting group to talk to. So got to speak to that, but because we were there in New Jersey, a lot of coaches attend this because it's a recruiting event. And then Jimmy and I got a really cool experience is the Naval Academy. The head coach at Navy was there, so he asked us if we come down to Annapolis and speak to the cadets down at the Naval Academy. And that was really impactful because, you know, here I am talking to, there were like, I think there were 17 seniors in that class. 4 of them going to be SEALs, the rest of them going to be naval pilots. I mean, you're talking to the most elite of the elite. And I'm talking to these guys about showing up, you know? And I'm like, wow, like, you're going to show up for us. It's because of you that we can sleep at night in this country and raise our children here and feel safe because of what you do. And I'm going to talk to you about showing up because you're going to be doing that your entire life for so many different kinds of groups in so many different ways. And it was just a really, really amazing experience. So, you know, the cool thing about all these is, yeah, maybe what I spoke reached some people or meant some things to people, but the reactions I got back, the communication I got back, the comments I got back impacted me as much as I think they got impacted. And this was the best. I had one of the seniors on the lacrosse, this is the lacrosse team here, on the lacrosse team at Navy, send me a note and just saying that every single week they have somebody come and speak to them. And usually they're congressmen or senators or people talking about integrity and character and all these really good things. He goes, you know, honestly, Coach, he said, after a while it kind of starts sounding the same. It's all good stuff, but after a while it starts sounding the same. And he reached out to me and said, you know, the show-up talk, was the best one he's ever heard in his 4 years, because it was real and because I was vulnerable. And he allowed him to be vulnerable with his teammates and stuff like that. And that's really kind of why you do it, you know, which is really amazing. And then on April 28th, Jimmy and I are going down to speak with the Summers Girls Youth Lacrosse team in Summers. So that'll be different than that group I just spoke with at Navy, which will be really cool. And then in June, we're going to speak to the PLL, which is the Pro Lacrosse League. They've asked me to come down, and I might be closing out their training session for the summer with all the pro lacrosse teams, which will be really neat. And then I think we're going in September to Suffield Academy and doing a chapel service there for the student body. So, you know, again, it's just an opportunity I have to talk about something that I think that can mean a lot, and hopefully it does. So I've mentioned Jimmy a lot, so I just want to tell you a little bit about Jimmy and why I had him be involved with me on it. So I really wanted to do have an alum do it with me, and I thought that would just, I had a lot to choose from. We have a lot of great alums. But Jimmy had already been starting to do some of this stuff on his own with these yellow bracelets, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And so Jimmy already kind of got invested in this whole thing. Jim and I are really tight, we're really close. He's been showing up for me my whole life, and I just felt really great about doing it with Jimmy, and I'm really glad we did together. Jimmy is an 01 grad. He was a captain of the lacrosse team. He was an All-American here. He's a phys ed teacher in South Windsor, and worked with special needs kids there and regular physical education classes. But the great thing why I want Jimmy involved, because he absolutely embraced the whole Humanics philosophy when he was here. He absolutely embraced it. It became part of his soul. And the great thing about it is when he left here, he didn't check it at the door. He took it with him and is carrying into his life with his family, with his job, with his career and everything. And it was great having him do it with me. We had such a great time doing that. And he continues to show up for me. And I love you, Jimmy. Thank you so much, man. Thanks so much. Okay, in closing here, almost done here. So one thing we do with my lacrosse team is we present this yellow helmet gets presented to my team by the players, 2 players, every week. And they practice it all week. And it's probably, in the 40 years I've been coaching, it's probably one of the most impactful things I've done, because it allows my guys on the team to really express to each other who's showing up for them. It's really all about that. Who's giving great effort, doing all the little things right, and just really literally just showing up for each other in so many different ways. And because they present it to each other, they come up before practice every Monday, and they talk about who they want to give it to this week. The kid who last week comes up and presents to someone for the upcoming week. But the best thing about it is how they just talk about each other and why they're wearing it, and it's really, really great. So we've been doing that for a few years now, and I just think it's one of the coolest things we do. It's got sunflower on it, it's got show up on the back, it's got that logo right there, my dad's initials on it. And what I do every year before we start the year is I said this, because Lindsay's initials are on it, this isn't always strictly about Lindsay, it's about what she represents. Just that attitude about showing up and giving your best for your teammates and all that. And the guys have really bought into it, and I think it's really cool. And I think it's just really one of the best things we do. So what Jimmy did, before I even do that, going further with the helmet, is he started doing a similar thing with some youth programs. And obviously, they're not all wearing helmets. You're not going to do a youth helmet for a youth soccer program or something like that. But what he started was these yellow bracelets, which I'm wearing right here. And really what the bracelet is all about is it's an opportunity for you the bracelets are a reminder of the impact you can have on others. That's basically what they are. It's a reminder of how much impact you can have on other people. And what he would do is talk to youth teams or high school teams about the bracelets, about who is showing up for you, who has shown up for you, and who do you want to show up for more. And really, it's just a really cool activity that he did that kids could really just think more about who's showing up for them every day and who do you want to show up for more in your life. And that's really all it is. It's nothing more complicated than that. It's pretty simple. I put a bunch of bracelets out back on the front table if you'd like to take as many as you want. If you want to give them to someone that's been showing up for you, it's awesome. We'll just remind you, if you want to wear it as a reminder, how important it is for you to show up for people and give them So, all I want to say at the end here is that this has been nothing but a privilege to kind of represent our humanic philosophy in my way, by doing it this way. Springfield College is a very special place, and I can honestly say the longer I'm here, the more I appreciate it. And this past year has been tremendous for me to do, so I appreciate that. My guys will be very happy to know that I'm going to dismiss you right now because you have practice. You have a game tomorrow. So I'm going to let you guys go. I love you guys. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Don't go too far, I need you. Keith, thank you so much. Thank you for everything. You really hit the nail on the head in terms of talking about what Humanics is and how Humanics relates to showing up. I think that's a very important part of what we do for each other here at Springfield College. It's really now my pleasure to provide you with the Distinguished Professor of Humanics pin. This is a pin that you'll see on many folks' jackets here that have the boutonniere, and it represents, it was for me a time last year when I got it where I could actually take a deep breath, because I felt like before that I was still all nervous about everything. So Keith, take a deep breath, come forward, and let me give you the Humanics pin. We have a couple more things that we need to do as we close our program out. Dr. Polito, would you mind coming joining us up front here for a minute? Would you all come over here, and I'll read the students' names, and you can give them the certificate and shake their hands. Great. They're not all here, Keith, so we'll just sort of go through. And each year, the Distinguished Professors of Humanics, led by Dr. Polito, who's up here, go through and do a fundraising event to raise funds for Springfield College students. It's really a labor of love by the Humanics professors, because they love Springfield College, they love our students, they've seen what spectacular students we have here, and they have heard many stories about how our students struggle to stay here financially. So this is an attempt by the Distinguished Professors of Humanics to raise funds for our students. All the funds that are raised go directly to the students and to the student scholarship. And the students are selected based upon both their need, but the extent to which they exhibit the Humanics philosophy. So it's a very special award to get. So I'm going to read the names of the winners. If you're here, please come on up. If not, we'll get their certificates to them. Maddie Jankowski. Peter? Cameron Borges. Tino Pizzarelli. Jesse Warland. Maya Baird. Paniotis Kapanitis. Haley Barber. Kaylee Langer. Chodney Rana. Dante Vasquez. Iana Gabazdia. I think we're all set. Let's hear a round of applause for all of our Humanics Scholarship winners. The end of the Humanics lecture is also another tradition. It allows us to say thank you to the current Distinguished Professor of Humanics, but it also allows us to announce the leadership of the next Distinguished Professor of Humanics. As a former Distinguished Professor of Humanics, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the 22-23 Distinguished Professor of Humanics. Let me share some of the great descriptions of this year's recipient and see if you can figure out who I'm describing. So it's a little quiz here, so we'll see how it goes. Like all distinguished professors, a review of this year's recipient's vita reveals consistent levels of excellence in teaching, scholarly endeavor, and service that really illustrates significant impact on virtually every aspect of Springfield College. One nominee wrote, "As a teacher, this individual is unparalleled in her," first clue, okay, "preparation, planning, and classroom presentation, and is generally respected by all, both in and out of the classroom. When it comes to college service, next year's Distinguished Professor of Humanics is no stranger to shared governance. She is currently serving in her 5th term on the Faculty Senate, starting to narrow it down a little bit. One of the nominees wrote, "This deep involvement in college service illustrates a love of the college that exhibits her dedication to and commitment in shaping Springfield College for the next generation of students, faculty, and administrators." And I can't help but think of the description that Keith gave about being a pillar of Springfield College. Service for next year's Distinguished Professor of Humanics does not stop at Alden Street, as she's deeply connected to the community. Over the past several years, she has volunteered, contributed, supported, and participated in or provided service to the following: the Walk to End Alzheimer's, Rays of Hope Walk for Cancer, Girls on the Run 5K, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Oasis Food Pantry, Women's Sports Foundation, the National Academy of Health, Physical Literacy, the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Eastern Seaboard. And she's contributed to after-school programs for the Springfield College Housing Authority. One of the nominees concluded that next year's Distinguished Professor of Humanics lives servant leadership. She lives the mission every day in a selfless manner that is central to the philosophy of Humanics. And the nominee concluded that she's demonstrated and exceeded what we look for in the best of Springfield College faculty. Now, some of you might have a clue, but having worked with her for so many years, I can honestly say that the award of the Distinguished Professor of Humanics is overdue for this individual. So if I haven't really given a lot of clues yet, let me get down to it. The 2022 Distinguished Professor of Humanics joined the Springfield College faculty in 1989. She's been promoted from an assistant to an associate professor and from associate to full. She served as the department chairperson for the Physical Education and Health Education Department. And she is only one of 5 women who have served as the head coach of Springfield College women's softball. Please join me in congratulating Kathy Mangano as the 22-23 Distinguished Professor of Humanics. All yours, Coach.
Keith and I both know emotions, and I'm going to do my best to get through this speech. First of all, congratulations, Keith, and thank you for all you did for helping us realize the impact of showing up. You did a phenomenal job, and I enjoyed listening to everything you shared tonight. It's extremely humbling and honored, and I'm honored to be selected as the Distinguished Professor of Humanics. I want to thank those who have nominated me and all of the distinguished professors in this room and elsewhere. Interesting, as I was listening to Keith and Marianne talk, my next line says, "These distinguished professors of Humanics, you are the pillars of this institution." I have the utmost respect for you. Many of you have been my professors, my colleagues, my mentors. Thank you for the legacies that you have and continue to lead for Springfield College. I'm honored to receive this award from Marianne Coughlin. Kudos for all you have done in your role as Distinguished Professor of Humanics, especially during the pandemic, and as your role as interim Provost and Vice President of Academic Affairs. I would also like to thank President Cooper for this tremendous honor. Thank you. A couple of weeks ago, I got an email from Marianne, and she said, "I'd like to meet." And I responded, I said, "Sure, what would you like me to prepare for?" As Marianne mentioned, her and I have spent a lot of time together this past year working as chair of the Faculty Development Personnel Committee. We've spent a lot of hours talking about compensation, so I wanted to make sure I was ready to go to talk in this meeting. We did briefly talk about compensation, and so that was good. Briefly, yes, because at that point we were hoping that we had secured the model. So it was a brief conversation about compensation, and then she asked me and if I would like to be the Distinguished Professor of Humanics for the next academic year. As you can imagine, the floodgates opened. Receiving this honor is incredible, and it's a blessing. As many of you know, I have a tremendous passion for this institution. It is like a second home to me. It's a place where I found my voice. As crackly as it is right now, I have found my voice. Although at times I would like to shake this place, more times than not, I want to hug this place for everything that is done for me personally and professionally. As Marianne mentioned, I started in the fall of '82 as an undergrad physical education major. I knew I wanted to come to Springfield College. I wanted to be a physical education teacher. Where else to go but Springfield College? I stayed on and graduated with my master's in '88. Took a year and went into the public schools for a year to teach. And then I got an incredible call saying, hey, there's a position, the head coach is taking a leave of absence. Would you like to take the position for a year? I'm not going to lie, this position as a teacher coach at this institution was a dream I had years ahead. I was very fortunate to get that call, and I obviously accepted. And make a long story short, the coach decided to retire, and the rest is history. I spent 20 years of my years here as a teacher coach, and some incredible memories there. Springfield College has been my second home for 40 years, and it hopefully will be for another, I'm not going to give a number. So we'll leave it at that. I look forward to continuing the preservation of our unique and distinct Humanics philosophy of educating the whole person in spirit, mind, and body for leadership and service to others. I don't know what my project will be yet, but there's this big event happening this year. It's 50 years of Title IX. So that gives me some ideas, without a doubt. I'd like to say a few thank yous. First of all, to my colleagues, past and present, some of them in this room today, thank you. I've learned so much from you over the years. I'd also like to thank two dear friends, dear and special friends, Dr. Mimi Murray, thank you. And to Jane Votero, I appreciate all your wisdom and treasure your listening ears. Thank you. Last but not least, I need to thank my family. Not need, I want to thank my family. I have one of 6 children. 3 of my siblings are here today. I'd like to introduce them. It's my sister Debbie, my sister Joanne, my brother Johnny, and my niece Sam. I have a few other siblings that are, I hopefully watching on the webinar. I want to thank you for all your unconditional love and support over the years. I love you dearly. And lastly, a special thank you to my mom and dad. My dad's been gone for a while, but he's still with us every single day. My mom, for the last several years, has been struggling with Alzheimer's. And the last few months have been extremely challenging for all of us. I'm hoping she's watching right now. With Alzheimer's, it's very challenging, and many of you in this room probably know that. Was one thing about my mother's memory. It was always, and my siblings heard this often, Kathy, you're a professor at Springfield College. Kathy, you're a professor at Springfield College. She never forgot that. Unfortunately, that is slipping a little bit. But Mom, I am a professor at Springfield College. I'm a very proud professor at Springfield College and honored to be the next Distinguished Professor of Humanics. Thank you very much.
We have the flower. Congratulations. You're very tried and true door. And a certificate.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Please feel free to join us for a reception out in the hallway where you can greet the new distinguished professor and give Keith congratulations. Thank you, everybody.